Here we are at Camp Blount. Lots of people coming in. The day's finally here. Dr. Ferris Beasley.
That's right. We've been pointing to this date for a long time, and it's here, and the children are here, and we're excited.
Looking forward to a two-day event. This is early Friday morning. Lots going on. Real quick, maybe describe what's going to happen today and then tomorrow.
Okay, well, this is maybe the most important day because it's Student Day, and we want to pass on this legacy of what happened here 200 years ago. Everybody knows about Jackson coming, mustering the troops, went to Creek Indian War, won that war, later went to the Battle of New Orleans, won that war, and the rest of it is history. But these young people need to know that this is their ancestors. These people left their homes 200 years ago when Fayetteville was only 3 years old, left their babies and their children and their wives, walked, some of them had a horse, all the way down there to do that. And they, stopped that fearful attack on the frontier, liberated us from Great Britain's ability to take over our country, and it needs to be carried on.
And today's the day is what it's all about. Going to have lots of students. All the schools are going to be represented, and I know you're proud.
We are very proud. The schools have supported us very well, and they're going to see what military activity that Jackson carried on here was like in that period of time. From cannon firing to militia firing to drilling, cavalry will be out. A lot of great stops. Hope they're going to learn a lot.
We're looking forward to it. You're going to see it all here on FPU. We're going to try to capture it for the people who can't come and for years to come.
Don, thanks for supporting us.
Okay, as we get to our first place here at Camp Blount, what are we doing here?
This is the artillery demonstration, and we're representing a company out of Nashville called Dedrick's Company of Artillery that had 2 cannons on the Creek Indian War campaign. The one we have here is actually a smaller gun than what he carried, but it's a way for us to show how the artillery worked, how it was loaded and fired and so forth, and all the procedures for that purpose. And if we'll look down at the gun here, this is actually a howitzer. It's got a 3-inch bore, and it's got a very small 1-inch chamber, and it was designed to fire explosive shot out to about 600 to 800 yards. It was a very small round, about the size of a modern hand grenade, but not nearly that much power because it was black powder. It was really designed just to clear Indians or other bad guys from an area that, like an aerial denial weapon. Now, if the enemy got within close range, we could level the muzzle and we could switch to grape shot, which is like a giant shotgun round. This is a grape shot round. This one has 15 1-inch iron balls in it. This was used at very close range when the enemy got within 100 yards or so. And this would come out of the muzzle still at about 900 feet per second, spread out, and used to inflict mass casualties at close range, just like a giant buckshot round for all practical purposes. The other round it fired was an explosive shot. It would have had a hole in it and be hollow and filled with black powder and a fusing system. The fuse would be cut based on the estimate of how far the target was. So if the target was at, I'm just going to give you an example, but at 500 yards out, and we know that the time of flight was 3 seconds, the gunner would cut that fuse to 3 seconds. And the idea of trying to get it to explode in the air above the target to send its fragments down as killing weapons. Okay, and it's strapped to a wooden sabot. That way it keeps the fuse pointed out, and so it will ignite properly when it's fired. This gun itself is the smallest artillery piece the U.S. Army ever adopted. The whole thing weighs about 250 pounds. It was designed to be set on a pack saddle on a mule. And so it wasn't towed, it was carried. And once it was dropped on the battlefield, the crew would move it to wherever it needed to go. And maximum effective range for this tiny gun is around 500 to 600 yards.
Still do a lot of damage though.
It can. And nothing compared to the larger cannon that were used in the more European style armies. But for fighting on the frontier, especially against Native Americans, it was ideal because it's very light, be transported without road systems, through the woods, and so forth. And that's why it was designed. It was designed for that specific purpose. Right.
Ready, fire.
All right, we're here at Camp Blount with the next section. Tell us what you're doing here today.
Yeah, what I'm doing here today is I manufacture all the leather goods you see here. I think everything for the 1812. I keep the Army supplied, you know, but not the English Army. I don't like the English. For some reason the English don't like me. But I'm
Show us one of them. Pick one of them. All right, we're gonna.
This item here is a 1812 backpack
show.
for the Americans to fight those English again. You know, I'll try to go from here down to New Orleans, take them on in the fog. This is
something you make.
Yes, everything you see on this blanket here I make myself. I even make the white leather goods for the reenactors. The haversacks, slings for the these are the slings for the bayonets and the swords. Put them over their shoulders.
And this is all the way it really was.
Yes, yeah, everything I make I copy off original pieces or other museums. Everything is totally correct for that period of time.
Very good. Well, that is really neat to see, and that's one thing that all the reenactors today will be. They will be just the way it was.
Yeah, yes, it will be. Yes, something not gonna be shooting those bloody shit. But that's next week or so.
Okay, we'll wait and do that next week. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Top of the morning.
Okay, we're here at another place here at Camp Blount. What's your name?
Michael Agee.
Tell us what you're doing.
I'm making hats. The hats start with kind of beaver fur or rabbit fur, and it's pressed into felt, and I get it at that phase, and I'm stretching them over these blocks, and then shaping the hats, making linings in them, that sort of thing. So this is a typical round hat. Prior to 1817, all the hats were turned on a round lathe turned block, and then after that, you start seeing oval-shaped blocks. But
You're saying this is how they used to do it.
this is how they used to do it, right? Prior to 1820s or so.
Very good. How did you learn how to do this?
It's just something I've picked up on my own, reading about it and experimenting, practicing, doing different things.
You go a lot of different places to show people how you do this?
A little bit. I've gone quite a few places. I make hats mainly for friends to start off with, and then I just started making more and more, and then people started liking them, so I started making more of them.
Very good. All right, let's come over here. What's going on over here?
Well, I have some supplies here for the militiamen to purchase, gun flints, candles, things like that, and also canteens. These are what are called cheese box canteens, one of the two types that were issued to American soldiers during the War of 1812. They're essentially 3 pieces of wood magically converted from this to that.
Wow.
Wow.
And it holds water.
Oh yeah, they hold water definitely. Again, like Michael, I did some research to figure this out. The main trick is the wood itself. The ends or the heads of the canteen are northern white cedar, and the rim is white ash, American ash, and the two of them together. Once you get the canteen finished and put some water in it, it'll swell up and hold water. These have a capacity of about a quart.
So the key is you put water in it, and it swells up to make it hold water.
That's exactly right. This is the same wood that's used for making wooden boats, traditionally.
Sure. You mind showing us those flints? That seems to be pretty interesting, and maybe the candles and what you do with those.
You can stay there, that's fine.
These are gun flints. I've picked these up from other suppliers, but these are necessary for your flintlock musket to work. This is held in the jaw of the we call it the hammer. Historically, it was the cock, and this will strike the frizzen, throw a spark into the pan, ignite the priming in the pan, and makes the gun go off.
Wow, I did not know that's how that works. So you're saying this actually strikes?
Yeah, it strikes the frizzen and causes the spark to fly into the pan, and that ignites the priming powder.
Very good. Well, that is very interesting. What about the candles? What do you do with the candles?
Well, these are, again, I don't make these. I picked them up from supplier, but always like a little light around the camp at night. So this is just typical. These are beeswax candles. These will burn about 5 hours if you got them. Where they're not in the wind. If you got to breeze it. If they're in the draft, candle will burn pretty quick. They'll gut her out. But
well, we thank y'all for what y'all do, and we appreciate you showing us how this works, and hope you have a good weekend here at Camp Blount.
Thank you.
Okay, what is your name?
Hi, my name's Ashley Poe.
Tell us what you're doing here at Camp Blount today.
Okay, well, we're from the Tennessee State Museum, and we've got several activities set up for our children. We have ink and quill pen writing, and we've also got looms to show them how fabric was made. We have some toys, graces, and things that we're going to be bringing out a little bit later, and we also have a yoke and water buckets so that they can get to do some chores.
Show us the ink right quick while we're right here.
Okay, well, it comes in a powder,
Okay.
and you do have to mix it with a little bit of water, so we are cheating and using our bottled water.
I understand.
But you put it here in the ink well, and you do have to mix it around a little bit, and you just take it, and you can
that looks
the
good.
best
That
at
looks-
ink quill pen writing, but it's a science.
It looks very good. It's really cool, and that's how. In those days, there's a lot of historical records, which Eric and I have got to see at the library not too long ago, where they were coming in taking pictures of that. And it's amazing how they used to write.
Oh, absolutely. And actually, a lot of people don't know, but the word we use, pen, is a shortened version of the Latin word for feather. Wow. So that's actually where we get it from.
Good. Well, I love feathers, and Eric knows that. I love pens. So it's great to see you, and thank you. Hope you have a great day. You got a lot of kids coming through, and that's going to be very interesting.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be good.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, we're here at the next booth. What's your name?
Jamie Brown. I'm with Red Deer Trading Company.
Okay, tell us about some of the items here.
All of our items are for sale. We're like an 18th century traveling Walmart. We would go from town to town carrying our wares and goods to get better goods for the next town. And we do have bird whistles, which are these right here. They are water filled. You might want to move that back just a little.
Wow.
They sound just like a bird. They were found all the way back to King Tut's tomb.
Very good. Now, so you put water in those to make
Yes,
it work?
sir.
Show us one more time, Eric, while Eric's up here.
See, that's all that's coming off my hand. It's just water.
Very cool.
All you do is blow.
Wow, that's very good. You've got a lot of items here. You're going to have a lot of people coming through. Is this something you do a lot?
Yes, sir. We're gone just about every weekend. In fact, I'm booked from now until the first weekend before Christmas.
That's a good problem to have.
Yes, sir. Right now in this economy, that's a great problem to have. But
Well, good luck, and thank you for what you do. Thank you for bringing back the old things and keeping history alive.
I'd prefer to do this over what they have in modern days now. So thank you very much, sir.
Okay, we're here at a dulcimer. Tell me what's your name.
Denise Garten,
Tell us about what you're doing.
demonstrating dulcimers and the predecessor to the dulcimer, the German zither, from about 200 years ago.
Can you see this over here? We're going to go ahead and show that. What's this thing called again?
German, they called it a scheithol or a zither. Mostly we call it a zither.
Okay, zither. Okay.
Dulcimers are in the zither family.
Are these things you make?
You can make them. You can buy them in music companies now. This is made by McSpadden, and my husband and a friend made this one. This one's handmade, and my dad did the hand carving on it. So it is handmade.
Show me how this works and how it looks.
Okay, well, you strum it with a strummer, or traditionally they used turkey quill. And but nowadays we have a modern pick, and you just move up the fretboard.
Very nice. So you say your husband made this?
Yes, my husband and a friend of ours made this instrument. It was actually a piece of wood from Colombia, from a tree, and the walnut was. And then a friend of ours gave us a piece of curly maple, and so we put the two woods together, and I call it my Sacagawea dulcimer because she looks like Sacagawea.
You can show him the head part of that. That's very
hand carved out of walnut, and then the sound holes, because it was, I call it my Sacagawea dulcimer, I did the Thunderbirds, and this is kind of boat shaped. Most dulcimers are teardrop or the hourglass shape, and so it's a little different design, but I thought it was fitting since she went on, Lewis and Clark expedition.
It sounded beautiful. Thank you for playing it for us, and thank you for being here at Camp Blount.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, we're here at, we've been hearing this drumming going on here at Camp Blount. What's your name?
I'm Fred Prouty.
Fred, tell us about your instrument and what you're doing here today.
Well, I'm here with these folks gathered around this 200th anniversary, and I work with the state out of Nashville and with the Historical Commission, and I do this on the side. I'm here to show what the drummers did during those time frames.
This sounded really good, and show us a little bit about what you have on here. This is very authentic too. I guess that's the right word.
Right. This was a rifle frock, and they were made because it was a cheap way to manufacture clothing. It just slips on over, kind of like a bathrobe in a way. And they were recommended and ordered by Jackson and his officers to help standardize the militia. And so this was a militia coat. And as I said, it made everybody look uniform because there weren't a lot of uniforms to go around.
That was another good leadership thing that Jackson did.
Oh, exactly.
Let's go ahead and show us a little about your drum.
All right. Well, this is a rope tension drum. It used originally calf skin heads.
Calf skin heads right here?
Calf skin heads on both sides.
Okay.
And
so this is calf skin.
Calf skin.
Gotcha.
Right. And on the bottom, you've got the snares, which are catgut.
Cat gut.
Yeah,
I was going to touch that, but I back off on that. All right.
That's what they used in the old days.
Sure.
And these drums had to be loosened every night because the skins would absorb moisture, sure. And they would kind of be like a wash rag. In the morning, you had to let them dry out or take it to the campfire and heat it up slowly so that it would make a good sound. So we've heated, it was preheated this morning.
Yeah, because it's like 54, 55 degrees. Show us what it sounds like.
Okay, let's do, this will be the reveille to wake everybody up.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Pleasure.
We caught up with our old friend Joe Smith, and looking at this fence, this is incredible. What you doing here today?
Well, I'm with the committee that it was formed to make this into a park, we hope, one day. And we're in an area where I grew up as a kid. I grew up on the river right here. When I was about 10 years old, me and all the other kids in the area, we used to swim right in here.
Wow, look, Eric, we're sitting right on the river. Most people at home might not realize at Camp Blount, the river actually just sort of went around it. So when you were a kid, did you realize this was Camp Blount?
No, we didn't. We never knew that this was a historical area, but it's a nice place to play. In this area here was a big cane break. It was covered in cane. We used to get our fishing poles down here. And
anybody who knows you knows you're a history buff, so you've got to be excited about what's going on.
Oh, we're very excited. We hope the state will make this into a historical site, and we think they will, and it'll get improved over the years and something that our people will have for many years to come.
To describe people at home where we're at, we're behind the Fred's building, behind Taco Bell, behind Hardee's, Long John Silver's, but this area has been sort of preserved, or actually lately y'all have done a lot of work here to make it look like it is today.
That's exactly right. We worked in here for about 3 or 4 months, clearing out trees and brush and bushes, and we made it into a pretty nice area.
We're going to have thousands of kids, and tomorrow, no telling how many hundreds of people will be in here, and I know it's exciting for you to see what's happening.
It certainly is. We didn't realize there were that many children in Lincoln County.
But they're all showing up here today at Camp Blount. Joe Smith, thank you for all you've done, and it's going to be a great day.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
we hope everybody will come out.
Well, we're here with Mr. Eugene Ham. Mr. Ham, this is a big day for Fayetteville, Lincoln County, and for history, which you are the official historian of Lincoln County.
Ooh, I'm by no means official or unofficial, but
All unofficial.
I'm delighted to be part of this, surely am. And for those on the committee, Dr. Beasley and others who've worked so hard to pull this off. And so glad the school children were released from their onerous duties to connect their home with American history.
As a longtime educator, you know how important it is for these kids to see it firsthand in the area where it's at.
Yes, and to make a connection that American history didn't happen somewhere else always, but that we were part and parcel of it.
Can you tell us briefly what you would tell a youngster about the history of Camp Blount?
Goodness. That the War of 1812 in the West, and we are in the Old West, was chiefly between the settlers and some regular army and the Tecumseh's Confederacy, backed by the British and the Spanish. I would also tell them, though, that once we got to Horseshoe Bend, had it not been for the Allies, the Native Allies, the Cherokee and the White Stick Creeks, and I think even Choctaws, that the outcome of the battle would have been quite different.
A lot of historic people have been on these grounds here, and definitely hallowed grounds. I'm sure people have died here as well.
I'm certain they did, probably from camp diseases. But yes, this was an important mustering ground. Of course, the big one that we're celebrating today, but also I think Major Lauderdale gathered troops for the Seminole War here, and then I presume both armies may have used it as a camp space during the Civil War.
Being right here on the river, it's a key place and a great place for a camp.
Indeed it is. I'm sure that authentic reenactors slapping at mosquitoes might challenge that, but for the times it certainly was, and it's level, relatively level.
We thank you for all you've done. We thank you for the committee, what they've done, and I know you've got to be proud.
I am, but the committee are the ones under Dr. Beasley's amazing leadership. We are mighty grateful to them.
Thank you for all you've done. Thank you for your years of education, and we appreciate what you've done for Fayetteville, Lincoln County.
Well, thank you. I'm flattered you wanted to interview me.
Thank you. See you, buddy. We are here with
Glenn Kyle.
Glenn, tell us about yourself and what you're doing here today. I love the outfit, and we're going to talk about what you're talking to people about.
Okay, well, we're here today, the group I'm with, talking about Coffey's Mounted Rifles. They were a group that served with Jackson through most of the war, the entire war, fighting the Creeks, going down to Pensacola, going to New Orleans. They were there for that battle. So they were mounted. They were not infantry. They did not fight from horseback. They were mostly mounted rifles. They would ride somewhere, dismount, fight, mount back up and go. They were incredibly mobile. The rifle gave them a long reach and an accurate reach, and they were some of Jackson's most trusted troops.
Wow, that is very interesting. Talk about this long rifle. That's amazing.
Well, not everyone had these. They're a specialized weapon. They're rifled. They have grooves cut into the barrel that impart a spin to the bullet. That gives them range.
It gave the bullet a spin.
It's just like the difference between throwing a soccer ball and throwing a football. When you throw a football, you impart a spin to it that lets you hit someone, throw it to someone further away than everyone's throwing a soccer ball. You can't do anything. It's the same concept with the rifle. They took longer to load, though, because the bullet actually had to grip that rifling. So it took about a minute to load these. So you would take your powder, someone just fired one now. You'd take your powder, take your ball, ram it down, and that took a little bit. And then you would come up here. This, like all weapons at the time, this has a flintlock mechanism. That is, you would pull the hammer back to half cock. You would put powder in the pan here, and you see there's a touch hole there. That hole goes through to where the main charge in the weapon would be. You'd put a little powder there. You would pull this back.
Okay, we're pulling this back.
That's pulling this back. That covers the powder there.
Covers
keeps
the powder.
it in place.
Very good.
This is called the hammer. And so you would pull this back, and I'll do this once and then go through it with you in slow motion.
Let me say this. This is a piece of wood. We're not doing flint at the moment.
Right, yeah. The flint would, flint and steel, it actually makes a spark. So when you pull that trigger, it goes forward. And what happens is the flint hits this, scrapes down on it, throws sparks into this powder. This powder ignites, sends a spark into the barrel, ignites the main charge, and off the bullet goes.
Wow. Lots of smoke?
It depends on the powder. It's not so bad as you think. You don't pour a lot of powder here. All you want is just enough to ignite that main charge.
To get inside there to the charge.
Exactly.
Unbelievable. I love that. Well, Eric, we saw some of the flint that actually goes in here a while ago, and I really didn't know what that does, but now I see the whole concept. So as you fire it, you pull from a trigger just like today's.
Let me do that.
Let's do it one more time. Wow. And there's the sparks and the
spark, and it goes off.
What kind of time? We're talking click, bang, boom?
A little faster than that. Again, it depends on the weapon, depends on the weather, actually. These are very tricky with weather. If it's wet, of course, the powder has a chance of getting wet. If the wind's blowing hard, the wind has a chance to blow it out. So it becomes an issue, but it's the most effective method they have of igniting the firearm at this time period.
About how old is this mechanism?
Well, the flintlocks go back to probably the late 1600s, give or take. But by this point, they were very, very common. This is the kind of weapon that everyone would have had. Pistols, rifles, muskets, all use the same mechanism.
Very nice. Well, it's going to be great for the kids to see how this works. And I love the campsite you have here, as Eric shows that. That's just that's all very neat.
Well, it's kind of neat. When you have militia, militia really is just civilians that have been put into a military role. That means they expect the comforts of home to come with them. So what you see is civilians trying to make life easy for themselves in the field. When they actually this is the mustering spot here at Camp Blount. They probably would have this sort of thing. But once they went on campaign, they realized they couldn't carry this stuff. It's just too much. So the amount of equipment pared down drastically when they started having to march and carry everything they needed.
We appreciate what you coming here today, showing the kids all what's going on and people tomorrow. And again, thank you, and it's very interesting.
Well, thanks for coming out, and I hope everyone has a good time.
Thank you. We'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks.
All down, and now the pistol is ready to fire. But you have to have something to ignite it. You guys know what happens when a piece of flint hits a piece of steel? Sparks. All right, watch right here. Should see a little bitty spark. See, that's all it took to ignite the powder in the pan. That in turn ignites the powder inside the barrel, touching off the powder inside the barrel and sending the projectile downrange. And the idea with the saber is that you would use this only when on horseback. You would draw sabers, charge in against the enemy, slashing down with the saber. The problem is, when you're fighting the Indians, the Creek Indians, do you think they stuck around very long to get attacked by guys on horses running at them with swords? No, they just disappeared back into the woods. So Coffey's guys carried some sabers, but they never got much of a chance to use them.
Okay, this is Myers Brown. Tell us what your position is with the state.
Well, I am an archivist at the Tennessee State Library and Archives.
Eric and I were at the looking back at the library, and you were gone during that time. But I knew we was going to see you today. You got a lot of young people around, and a lot more to come. And we're not going to keep you very long. But show us a little bit about what you're showing them.
And I will. And I'm also chairman of the State War of 1812 Bicentennial Commission, which is why I'm here.
All right.
What we have here is some of the equipment that would have been carried by John Coffey's mounted rifles. Coffey's mounted unit was one of the units that served with Jackson's command all the way through the Creek campaigns. They end up going all the way down to Pensacola, Florida. Then they served with Jackson over at New Orleans. So they were with him a long time and put a lot of miles on those poor animals.
Let's talk about, since you're talking about an animal, you can grab one of those. Let's talk about your horse right here. Definitely want to see this beautiful animal.
This is Sport, and he's a Tennessee walking horse. What we have on him is typical horse equipage from the era. This is a real common single ring halter. We've got one of the most common saddle designs of the era, which is some sort of version of the flat English style saddle. It's got a surcingle going over it, breast strap. Of course, it's got the blanket underneath. And then these would be pommel holsters, which would go on the front of the saddle. And they would be strapped on through the breast straps. And that was for carrying these pistols. And these are used really only when from fighting on horseback, because they are short range, close-up weapons.
That's beautiful.
This is a reproduction, of course, but it's just like the originals. These were made in the United States in the 1790s. There are copies of French pistols that were brought in during the American Revolution. They're all flintlock ignition, smooth bore. It's a 69 caliber pistol, if you can imagine.
The authenticity of this outfit here, or your uniform, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's really not a uniform, because Coffey's mounted rifles were civilians that just volunteered to go with Jackson. So they'd been wearing a lot of civilian clothes, and actually the coat I'm wearing is one that is pretty common to the period. It was a white and blue ticked stable frock. So this is something the mounted troops would have worn when they're grooming horses and that sort of thing.
Every time that we've been to each one of these little areas, it's amazing about the history that we've gotten, and it's so cool, and you guys are so in the know of how it was and that kind of thing, and that's part of your job, but some of these people, it's just a hobby.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are hobbyists, do this as a hobby, but they are all spend hours and hours at night or any free time doing research, and for every hour they spend out here talking to the public, they've probably spent 8 or 10 hours doing research.
I know as we talked about you helping us with the promotion of this whole thing, you got to be proud of the event so far.
Yeah, so far we've had a great turnout, both from the school groups and also from our interpreters. We've got folks here from all over the Southeast participating in the event, so had a great turnout. Let me introduce you to a couple of guys who are working with us.
Eric can come over.
This is Donnie Watson, who is working with us. He is from Bellevue, just outside of Nashville, and then Glenn Kyle joining us. He's all the way from over in Gainesville, Georgia, in here. And then this is Joe Thompson. He's down in South Georgia, so we've got guys from all over. Got guys from Texas here, Mississippi.
People from all over, and we had another gunfire there. We got to see that just a little bit ago, which is really cool. And one thing that you did use the word, and we talked about this early on in the in our promo, is you talked about we use the word reenacting time from time and give it. It's called interpreters.
Yeah, these are because we're really not not reenacting a battle. These guys are really here for educational purposes. They're costumed interpreters, if you will, living history folks. So that's really what we're all about. It's primarily education, both for school groups and the general public as well.
We appreciate what you do. Thank you for today, and I know you're excited about the turnout and the way things are going.
We've been very happy, and we appreciate all your help in promoting the event. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Tell us your name and what you're talking to the young people about today.
My name is Todd Jordan. I'm from Huntsville, Alabama, and I'm here as a regular U.S. Army infantry soldier in Jackson's Army, recruited at Knoxville and marching down to Huntsville to fight the Creeks in the War of 1812.
I love your authentic outfit here. This the I guess the helmet or hat or whatever all the way down.
Shako. It's based on the European style of warfare at the time that was becoming very popular because Napoleon was so successful. The U.S. wanted to adopt that image of a global power, and they really didn't have that. The British had defeated Napoleon, and the feeling was they were the superpower of the day. The U.S. was just, farmers and hunters. They would never be able to do anything against the British Army. So we really wanted to have the impression to represent a new nation. And even though we defeated the British during the American Revolution, we only controlled the 13 colonies, according to King George, who was still on the throne. And so the U.S. wanted to ensure that the Native Americans and their British allies in the Great Lakes going down to the Gulf did not have the power to block U.S. continued expansion to the west. Because remember, we in 1802 took the Louisiana Purchase. President Jefferson had made that arrangement with Napoleon. And so now we had these 13 colonies on the eastern seaboard, and we had the Louisiana purchased from the Mississippi River to the Rockies, but this central area was controlled by Native Americans. And the British had a long relationship because they had defeated the French who controlled that region in the Ohio Valley, and they wanted to maintain that control so they could pull those goods out by providing the Native Americans with weapons or with other goods that they thought they could provide them with that they wanted and would continue to provide game.
Great history lesson here, and Eric, if you got a moment, let's just pan all the kids here. It's just amazing how many young people that we have here. You might want to show us as he gets through panning this authentic clothing. We're going to let him take a quick look. Eric, if you just get everybody wants to be on TV. Okay.
What I like to show each of the kids when they come around is when I first got recruited in Knoxville, I was wearing the clothes that I had on at the farm. And these are homespun from flax into thread and then woven on a loom. And each of the kids can see that, what that homespun material is like, if you want to.
It's a little softer than blue jeans, but something on that same order.
Exactly. And the point is that they wear out really quick. You had to be made all on a routine basis. Every day they had to be spinning and they had to be weaving. And people don't realize today, you just take it for granted, go down to Walmart, you go down to Target and you get a pair of jeans. And the material is similar, like you said, it's a little lighter, but we didn't have Walmart and Target at that time. It all had to be, and when they recruited us, one of the things that they were very fond of pushing out was that you got a wool uniform. And this was a big deal because the United States didn't have a lot of wool. We imported our wool from Europe at the time. They liked cotton, and we got wool. And by getting a set of wool clothes, a lot of the diaries that we have, if you had a set of wool clothes, what was called broadcloth, came from a European or British loom, you would usually only have that for your wedding day. And it might even be just something that was handed down from your dad and from his father. So
is it hot?
It is. It's very hot.
I was hoping you would come up with some idea. So no, it's not as bad as it looks.
Not as bad as it looks, but it's still warm. Yeah.
All right. Well, we appreciate the young people around here. We're going to let you talk to them. Thank you for what you've done. It's amazing how many people are here today, and it's a good thing.
Great turnout. Yeah. It really has.
Thank you.
You bet. Enjoyed it. Thanks.
Whoa, girl. Whoa, stand now.
This is a beautiful horse there you have.
Thank you. Thank you very much. She has been with us a long time. Our family has been fortunate enough to be shined on well by the Lord, and we have a couple of animals, and we have a wagon. A lot of families not quite that fortunate, but we are. This one's been pulling my wagon around for several years, and I'm grateful to her. So.
Tell us your name, who you're portraying today.
Well, my name is Bill Glidden. I'm just the average town person down here. My family is up there. We've got my daughter is here with her horse and side saddle, and we'll be getting them out, and we'll be participating tomorrow in the whole show, and we're going to do the Crossroads to Destiny. Let me jump out of first person just for a minute, but we will demonstrate the horses. She'll demonstrate the side saddle riding, very much like the picture you saw in the
Crossroads to Destiny.
Yeah, the Crossroads to Destiny, and General Jackson down there will be on. We're going to put him on one of my horses, and we're going to recreate as a photo opportunity for the visitors to see David Wright's painting. The Crossroads to Destiny is. It's world famous, and David gave me permission to go ahead and recreate that, so that's what we're going to do, without the giant oak trees, of course, but yeah. But
where are you from?
I'm from Columbia, Tennessee. I'm just about 60 miles up the road, so it was easy for us to get down here. Yeah, and we've enjoyed it. The hospitality has been great. These school kids have been wonderful, and really, this is what it's all about. If we don't teach history, it's going to be forgotten, and we can ill afford to have that happen. We need to keep history alive, so that's why we do this.
Thank you very much. We'll let you take off, and we'll see you around.
I'm going to be here. All right.
Caught up with my good friend Cullen Wakefield. Cullen, how you doing?
I'm fine, Don. How are you?
It's good to see you. I've seen you do this kind of thing before, but not hardly in this outfit. Usually you're in a more formal attire.
Well, a Continental Revolutionary War outfit. As president of the Tennessee Society, SAR, I go to a lot of functions where I have to wear the Continental Army outfit, but with this local function here at Camp Blount, War of 1812, my militia outfit apparently would work for the day. I just had to find me another hat, and with it being something local that I could do here at home, that's a rare opportunity for me. So I definitely look forward to getting down here and participating in this event.
This is something that's really near and dear to your heart, keeping up with the history and doing this kind of thing, and it is great to be here at home.
It is. History's always been something that I've been interested in. I seem to get a little more interested in it as I get older. But one of the things that I found that really motivates me is when I find an ancestor that has participated in some of these events. And as it turns out, I've got a fourth great-grandfather, Wright Williams, who actually mustered down here with the militia from Lincoln County and served under Jackson at the Battle of New Orleans. So that really means a lot to know that I've got a blood relation that was actually here and participated in these activities.
Being, what's your position again? You mentioned what it was in SAR?
I'm currently serving as the state president of the Tennessee Society Sons of the American Revolution.
That's got to be that's pretty big.
It's a pretty big deal. I'm on the road a lot. I'm gone about every weekend because we've got functions all across the state. Last weekend I was over in Elizabethton at Sycamore Shoals State Park for what we call the Gathering at Sycamore Shoals. There's a fort over there, Fort Watauga. That's where part of the Over Mountain men gathered to muster before they marched to Kings Mountain to defeat Ferguson and the Tories at Kings Mountain.
How did you learn and know so much about history? How did you get into that so well?
Oh, well, teachers at school.
So you've always been?
Yeah, I mean, I know in high school particularly, Mike McCowan was our history teacher there and was just an excellent teacher. And I've always just sort of been a history buff growing up, all my life. And growing up here in the South in Fayetteville, the Civil War history has always been fairly prominent around here. But, it's just something that I've always sort of been attracted to. Something I've always been attracted to.
Well, it's good to see you. Thank you for all you do.
Always. Hey, listen, I want to thank you. People don't realize it, but you documenting events like this for our county are really going to mean so much to future generations. And I've seen you at so many different events over the years. We need to plan a tribute for you somewhere down the road, son. We seriously do.
Probably after I'm dead and gone.
No, we want to do it while you're still here.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, Don. Yeah, we appreciate all you do for us. You bet. Good talking with you.
All right, tell us what's going on.
Well, there's an emergency camp called by Governor Blount 200 years ago to deal with the second emergency of Tennessee in the War of 1812.
So tell us what this would be, an emergency camp. What does that mean exactly?
Volunteer militia comes from different districts of Tennessee, mostly East Tennessee, some Middle, and even a few brave souls from West Tennessee, mostly arranged by county lines under county officers that are elected. Many of these officers are men of standing in their county. Some of these officers tend to finance a bit of the expeditions to help these men come out in service. But the men who come out in service bring the bare minimum equipment to be able to survive the field and to be able to defeat the enemy.
That's very interesting. How did you learn all of this information and know this so well?
Well, reading, a few courses in college. You pick things up time and time again, and passion started when I was a child watching those old Disney movies.
Sure, very good. Well, this is a very interesting camp. Tell us a little bit about what's in this camp here. Let's see if I'm gonna get out of Eric's way here. You've got a little desk area here, a little office area.
The officers of the companies had to keep records of the companies. So your portable desk was going to be necessary for some learned man to keep the rolls and records, to see that the men are taken good care of, the men are all accounted for, and you can't bring all the men every day before the officers, so you bring the paperwork to show how many men you have under your command, what is their fitness for service, how ready they are for the march, and then those officers can make those very, very difficult decisions as to when to move.
Wow, that is very interesting that they had these kind of records and they kept up with it like that, because people don't think about that today.
And they're keeping up with it with simple lead pencil or quill and ink. And that is their computer of the day.
Let's talk about your tent here while we're looking at one. There's lots of tents around here, but that is the same kind of tent they would have back then?
These are men's personal tentage that would be brought on this campaign. Eventually, most of this tentage would not be following these men, but we're still here in the home country of Tennessee. These men, mostly farmers or speculative businessmen, and they almost all have equipment to carry themselves or their families out into the field to deal with overnight inspections of their fields, or trips to town may take a day or two, and you're going to have to put your family or your party up for the night. So these kind of tents and equipment were available as personal property and personal baggage to many of the men. Some men come here with nothing but a blanket roll, a couple of horns of powder, their rifle or bird gun, Fowler, and food, just to survive a few days.
Wow, that's amazing. What is your name?
My real name is Steve Thomas. This weekend I'm portraying Jacob Hartzell.
And where are you from?
Jacob Hartzell was from Washington County, Tennessee. Okay. I'm from Mobile, Alabama.
Very good. Thank you very much for your time. It's very enjoyable. Appreciate what all you know, and appreciate you spreading the word to the young people here and to the community tomorrow.
You're quite welcome.
All right, sir, tell us who you're portraying today and what you're doing here.
Well, I'm just portraying a member of the Tennessee militia. I'm up here visiting really from the Mississippi Territory down on the Natchez Trace.
Very good. Tell us a little bit more about what you were telling me there before we started.
Well, this is Andrew Jackson's second muster. The first one came last winter in December when Governor Willie Blount called him up to organize the Tennessee militia to go down to New Orleans to join General James Wilkinson's forces in defense of the Gulf Coast in New Orleans. And so he asked for 1,500 volunteers to come from Middle and East Tennessee, and had over 2,000 volunteers. And Coffey's cavalry took about 600 of the men and went down the Natchez Trace. And Jackson took the balance of the men and went down the Cumberland to the Ohio to the Mississippi. And they rendezvoused in Natchez. At that point, to his disappointment, Wilkinson told him that he didn't need him and for him to turn his men loose and just let them get back to Nashville. Wilkinson thought that the men probably would abandon Jackson and join his forces. But Jackson would not hear of it, and he told the boys that he was not going to leave them, that he would get them back to their parents in Nashville. And he led them on the 444-mile death march, really back to Nashville. Many of the boys died. The Natchez Trace today is a 444-mile cemetery. And halfway back is when Andrew Jackson earned the title of Old Hickory, the nickname, as one of the men turned to another and said that this general leading us is as tough as an old hickory tree. But that's when he earned the title and the nickname Old Hickory. And then he came back and the boys felt defeated. They had not encountered the enemy one time. Many of them had died, but he did get them back to Nashville. And then with the massacre at Fort Mims, he was called up again. And many of the same boys volunteered a second time and joined him here to enter into Alabama and to fight the Creek.
Such a great story. Tell us a little bit about this right here and your bayonet here.
Well, this is a musket. This is a Charleville musket. The men that were in the regular army would have had the smooth bore muskets, mainly because they could be loaded maybe 3 times in a minute, whereas a rifle it would take a full minute to reload. It was smooth bore, it was fast because infantrymen were usually in battle in close encounters and they had to reload very quickly, where aiming was not such a factor, much like a shotgun, using a shotgun as opposed to a rifle. The muskets would have come with a bayonet for close encounters, and it was carried in a bayonet frog, and it was attached such. And locked on.
Wow.
And then when not in use, of course, it could be taken off. But with the bayonet on, also you can stack your arms, and you'll see this demonstrated throughout the camp, where 3 or more rifles or muskets can be locked together in kind of a tripod.
I think we saw that. I think Eric took a picture of that a while ago. I wasn't sure what's the concept of them being put together.
Well, they're put together. It's a good way to keep them clean. They could be ready. They could be very accessible. The men could get to them very quickly rather than being in a tent or hidden away somewhere. Everyone knew where they were, where their gun was, and they could access them very quickly.
It's a very pleasure to meet you. Thank you for what you're doing today, and thank you for keeping history alive.
Thank you very much. Very important to reach the next generation. Thanks.
Okay, we're seeing some sewing going on here.
Yes, sir, and unfortunately you have caught me sewing my underwear.
Well, that's sort of embarrassing.
Very embarrassing indeed, but on the frontier, I am left to my own devices to mend my own wear. So I am sewing stays, which is a proper undergarment for a lady. And we also have brought some amusements with us to pass the time. And we have some young ladies and young gentlemen participating.
Right there showing us how they work, right here to the left. There we go.
I believe she needs a little practice.
Yeah. Show us how it works there, sir. I bet he knows. Well, he's showing.
Yes.
What's this game here?
Mr. Burgess is playing Bilbo Catch, or Bilbo K as the French call it. Here in America we tend to refer to it simply as cup and ball. We just simplify things. This is actually an adult game, or it started out as an adult game, and adults would gamble.
Oh, really?
Yes, and you do not want to challenge Mr. Burgess to a game. As you can see, he's quite good.
Yeah,
I believe his record is about 64 in a row.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
64 in a row. Wow. I think we make him nervous.
Perhaps.
I guess it was the iPod of yesterday.
Yes, all of these amusements would be that. Definitely to pass the time. This game here is lacrosse, to teach ladies to be graceful.
You want to show us how that works? You got a moment? If you mind putting your underwear down?
I sure can. All right. And even though Mr. Burgess is, of course, not a lady, he is quite graceful, so he can help me demonstrate.
Okay. All right, now let's see. Y'all gonna do it over there together?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
We can just do it right here.
Do it right here. Okay, we're gonna see how this works there.
So lacrosse is another French game. The French, they do enjoy their amusements.
They do indeed.
And lacrosse teaches young girls how to be graceful, or that is at least the object of the game. Lacrosse means the graces. And you take 2 sticks, a rolling or your hoop, and you cross your sticks, pull them apart to throw. Oh, and as you can see, I'm not very graceful. Okay.
Very good. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There we go. Yay.
Try for a third.
Oh, third time's a charm.
Oh.
Yes.
Very good. What's your name?
Tanya Staggs, and we are from Travelers Rest Plantation in Nashville, Tennessee. And this is Chad Burgess.
Thank y'all very much. That was really cool, and we hope you have a good day. And I'm sure the kids are loving that as we have more gunfire behind us. So it's really cool to hear all that going on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now I have seen these type machines lots of places. What is this called?
All right, this is a spinning wheel, and I am spinning wool today. One of the first things that you need to do in order to work with wool is not what you would think. The first thing you need to do is to cut the trees down so that you can plant the grass, so that you can care for the sheep for a whole year before you, in the month of May, when it's warm enough that the sheep no longer need their wool, you can shear them and begin spinning.
So this is your old sheep wool.
That's sheep's wool.
Sheep's wool. Now, how do you get it to weave into that one line right there? I don't know if Eric can see it from this side, but the interesting thing is this is twisted and twisted, correct?
That's right. What's happening, you have this device called the mother of all, and as it's spinning around, your wool is threaded through this eye of a needle, and it's got a twist put on it. You control the size of the wool or the yarn by what you pull out between your two hands.
Let's show you this right here, a little closer look from this side. If you can come on up here right here. This is really interesting how that works there. And then now as we show this part here and you see this working here, how do you make the wheels spin?
All right, to make the wheel spin, I've got a pedal here and I control it with my foot. I always want to start the wheel so it doesn't back up. If it backs up, your yarn turns into little knots.
I understand.
So as the wheel is turning, I'm controlling the size of the yarn between my two hands. I've got two guide cords on this wheel. One is controlling the mother of all. That's what puts the spin on the yarn. The other one is controlling the bobbin. And because they're spinning at two different speeds, the yarn is being wrapped around the bobbin at the same time it's being made.
Very good. Now that's very interesting. And as you move it up a notch, they're just trying to traverse it across.
That's right. Just trying to get it on the bobbin evenly.
Well, thank you for what you do. What's your name and where are you from?
My name's Debbie Thompson. I'm from Georgia, LaGrange, Georgia.
We appreciate you coming to Fayetteville, Tennessee, and Camp Blount. This is a great place, and it's a great thing to show the young people how things used to be.
It is. Thank you.
Okay, they mentioned the side saddle a while ago. Now, this is true side saddle and beautiful horse. Tell me how this works.
This works. They help me. I get on the horse, and I hope I don't fall.
What do you have here?
This is a riding crop. This is used. I do not have a leg on my other side, so it is used to cue my horse with. If I don't have this, I have no way to tell him what I want him to do on this side of him.
Is riding side saddle a little difficult?
It is not. I have been riding since I was 4 years old, and it, to me, comes naturally.
To tell us who you're portraying today.
I am myself demonstrating side saddle riding. I really don't try to be someone who I'm not.
So you're actually just portraying the thing that they talk about. Women in that day did side saddle all the time, right?
Yes. If you had money, you would ride side saddle. You would want to look the part of the man that you're trying to get the attention of. So, me, as you see, I have a nice hat, a nice dress. I would be a young lady looking for a guy that was wealthy. You would want to marry up into wealth, so that would be what I would be portraying.
The kind of women we want is a rich woman.
Yes. You want, any man would want a rich woman. And
this is sort of portraying that.
Yes.
Whether you had money or not.
Yes, sir.
Sort of like today, we're driving a sports car, you know.
And sitting very much in debt. Yes, sir. Same thought there.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm sure we'll see you around here at Camp Blount. Where'd you say you're from?
I'm from Columbia, Tennessee, and I've come with Mr. Glidden and Mrs. Glidden, and I am one of their children.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, and I'm sure we'll see you around here, and enjoy riding the side saddle. So you don't feel like you're going to fall off this side?
I do not. I most certainly do not. It is very comfortable for me. I've been doing it for several years now. So.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
See you.
Have a great day.
And preserve the history of the day for children in the future. That's our hope.
See, I live about 45 miles from the horseshoe in 1812. Yep. So I have.
All right. Well, they finally taught me to get on this horse, and the horse is just so nice. This is not something that I normally do, but these horses are very gentle, and I don't know how many horses we have here, but it's quite a few, and this is a great event here at Camp Blount. Eric just he wouldn't have it any other way than me be up here on this horse. But anyway, so just another day at the office here at Fayetteville Public Utilities Channel 6. We're at another one of the campsites here at Camp Blount, and we're going to talk to these. What's your name?
Ensign Sam Houston.
Sam Houston, we lucked out right here. Tell us about what you're doing here today.
I'm here with 39th Infantry recruiting new troops for the regiment we're raising outside of Knoxville, and basically that's what we're here to do.
Let's talk about yourself. Who are you?
I'm Private Gray. I'm late of the 7th, but now in the 39th.
Tell us what's going to happen here today.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to bring in some new recruits. We're going to be checking out some of the able-bodied young men in the area, see if they're fit for service. If they are, we're going to sign them up, give them their pay bounty, and start teaching them the drill.
We've been hearing a lot of history here, and one of the big things is keeping up with all of that was something, paperwork in my job today. There was a lot of paperwork back then that I'm sure you had to take care of.
Absolutely. There's a lot of paperwork. Every recruit has an enlistment form to fill out. Those names have to be compiled on a roster. The doctors have to check to make sure that they're physically fit for the job. We have to issue out clothing and equipment. That has to be written down on paper. There's a lot of forms and paperwork that have to be done for this.
And I'm sure, what's your job?
I haul a musket and shoot it.
That's an important job.
And that's about what I do, and I do what I'm told.
One thing, that's what we do for a living too. We're still doing that today. One thing about it is with these single fire deals, you got to make sure you hit it right the first time.
That's right. Well, you could do about 3 rounds in a minute, and you can lay down some pretty accurate fire doing it that way too.
Show us your gun.
Private Gray is noted for being able to fire 4 rounds in a minute. So.
Wow.
Well, I wasn't trying to brag. But this is a 1795 Springfield musket made by the United States. It's 69 caliber. As you can see there, single shot, smooth bore, and yeah, it's a pretty good weapon, and it's fairly reliable too. So unlike a musket or a rifle where you have to maybe take a minute to load it and make your own ammunition and pound the ball down there to seat it, you can just load and fire these, and once the barrel becomes too fouled to shoot it, or the flint starts to give out, you fix bayonets and you're still good to go.
It's amazing. How far can you hit with it?
Well, it's not made for individual fire. It's made for line fire. So when you're firing in a battalion, you can lay down fire at 200 yards because you're all shooting at the same time. So it's one man can't hit another man. It may be 70, 100 yards, but when you're firing in a battalion, like we're supposed to do, you can lay down some serious fire. You're just sending out a wall of lead.
That's amazing. Sam Houston, tell everybody the history of Sam Houston.
My history so far, I don't have a lot of history. I'm only about 20. Have left home, lived with the Cherokees for a while, worked a little bit with some schooling, and I'm hoping to make a career for myself with the U.S. Army now.
One thing about it is, if you know anything about history itself, Sam Houston played a huge part of history, even though we're talking this age here to the future in itself.
But I hope to play a huge part in history.
All right, well, I can't get him out of the third position, but we're going to see you throughout the day here at Camp Blount, and we're looking forward to that. Thank you for all the demonstrations, and we appreciate y'all coming.
We're glad to be here.
Thank you. All right, we caught up with a fella here. Nice to meet you.
My pleasure, sir.
Your name?
Gret W. Hardin.
Okay, tell me about yourself, and who are you portraying?
I'm portraying Major General Andrew Jackson.
You do this on a regular basis?
I've been doing it about 25 years. I do it at the Hermitage. I've done it at the Hermitage. I've done it at Fort Jackson, where he signed the treaty at the end of the Creek Indian War. I do that every year for 5 days. Also, the Battle of New Orleans Sightline Jackson, I've been with my troops behind it many, many years.
So you're very familiar with the history of Andrew Jackson.
Well, fairly so, yes, sir.
Tell us about this injury here. Maybe that's something we see in photographs, but what happened?
Well, what happened here was not a duel or anything as honorable as that. A duel brought it on, but to make a long story short, it was a falling out between me and Thomas Hart Benton. Thomas Hart was my aide-de-camp on the Natchez campaign. And his brother Jesse was with us too. And Jesse got angered because he said our quartermaster mistreated him, and he demanded that he have Littleton was his name, Robert Littleton. He demanded that he have a duel, and he wouldn't answer his call to a duel, so he asked for a stand-in. And so he got Jesse Benton to stand in, and Jesse Benton stood in, but when the shots were fired, he was hit in a very unauspicious place, I'll put it like that. He wasn't hurt bad, but everyone laughed in Nashville about it. Well, his brother Thomas Hart got mad because I had agreed to be the second to this other boy when they did the duel. And he made the mistake of passing word around town that he would whip me the next time he saw me. Oh, so one day I was going to the post office, and I had with me some of my friends there. I had the colonel there with me there, and I also had Stockley Hayes, a young man, went along with us there, and we were walking down the street toward the courthouse. And all at once, Colonel Coffey said, "Do you see what I see, General?" I looked over, and there stood both of the Bentons are at the edge of the city hotel right on the sidewalk. I said, "I see it, and I'll take care of it when I come back." We went on to the post office, and when we did, we crossed the street and walked back by there. When I did, as I started down that way, Jesse stepped inside the building. And Thomas Hart stepped up in the hall, which leads to the back of the building. There's a porch there, and then the river's right behind there, about a 10-foot drop off the porch. He stepped into the hall, and as I walked past, I just lunged through the hall, and I grabbed him by the lapels and shoved him back against the wall. I said, "Now, you confounded scoundrel, defend yourself." Well, he come out of his pocket with a pistol. When he did, I come out of my pocket with mine. And we were backing each other down the hallway along the wall. His brother Jesse, though, stepped through an outside door that led in the hall, and he fired on me behind with a smooth bore loaded with buck and ball. And the ball shattered my left shoulder partly, and also one of the balls lodged against my left upper arm. That's why I've got it in a sling. They tell me that I lost so much blood it saturated two mattresses. I don't remember. I passed out telling them to save my arm. They talked about taking it off. But anyway, that's what led to that. And then about that time, Stockley Hayes unsheathed his sword cane, and he went after Jesse with it. He lunged at Jesse so hard he struck a button on his waistcoat and snapped the blade. That's all saved his life. Jesse stuck the pistol to Stockley's stomach and pulled the trigger, and it misfired. Those two men led a charmed life that day. There's no two ways about it.
No two ways about it.
I didn't. I'm still trying to recover from it, but we're here to try to take care of this situation with the creeks. We're having an uprising down there, and a civil war among the friendly creeks and the unfriendly, and also against any of the settlers that live there.
Let's talk about the history of Camp Blount and Andrew Jackson.
Oh, well, basically, this was where it was shows. I think the governor there suggested to come down close to this area because the Raccoon Mountains, if you can cut a trail across the Raccoon Mountains, it'll take you right down to the headwaters of the Coosa River. So I was supposed to be instructed to go down to Ditto's Landing, where the 10 islands of the Coosa is. Now, when we get to the bend of the Tennessee River there below Huntsville, we're going to build a little fort called Fort Deposit. Hopefully, if they keep their word, that's where the government will put foodstuffs for my army, so we won't starve. Famine is something that scares me worse than the Indians does. For 2,500 men in the woods, you've got to feed them, and you've got to feed them well.
That's amazing.
Yes, sir. Well, after that, I think the first battle would be at Tallusahatchee. It's about 30 miles across from the 10 islands of the Coosa, and frankly, I have never failed to go anywhere with my men on any campaign, but the way I feel, as weak as I am, as hard as it is for me to manage a horse right now, I may not go to that one. I'm trying to recover enough to follow through with this whole thing, no matter how long it takes.
Andrew Jackson, I feel like I just met the man. Thank you very much.
It's been my pleasure, sir, and I will tell you this, as I told Governor Blount, I will perish before I will quit. That's what I told the governor.
Thank you, sir.
Good day, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Take care of your family and kids. This is the only thing you can grab is an axe or your hawk. And you're pretending that you're not, now you're pretending that you're trying to save your life in order to do this. Some of the things, you know, it's a competition in yourself.
Okay. If I get closer at least. Get closer. I got closer.
This is a reenactment of the concentration of Andrew Jackson's troops, the Tennessee militia. They were going to take care of the creeks after they massacred the settlers at Fort Mims. I'm not sure how many people the Red Sticks murdered down there, but it was Jackson's response to that Indian depredation. They really killed a lot of people, and in return Jackson returned the favor, and he really wiped out a lot of Red Stick creeks. Red Sticks for the war side, and the Creek Indian tribe, the other faction, were not warlike and didn't fight the whites. But Jackson had blacksmiths. He had soldiers, I think somewhere around 3,500 soldiers, and they ended up hemming up the Red Stick creeks down at the Battle of Horseshoe Bend and wiped them out. David Crockett was just one of his scouts, and they had a battle up north of Horseshoe Bend, as I understand. I don't know that much about the history of that.
Well, tell me the concept of the blacksmith on location here at Camp Blount.
Yeah, what we're trying to do is simulate what a blacksmith would be doing to assist the Army in its mission. In other words, the wagons would break down. The soldiers would need cooking utensils. I'm making S-hooks here.
Yeah, show me the S-hook. Show me what you're doing, and show me how this works.
What it is, this is just copper wire, not copper, iron wire. Back in Jackson's time, they would have ironmongers that would sell the blacksmiths the iron, and it would come in lengths of bar iron, and the blacksmith would hammer it down into the things that they needed. They would take bar iron and forge an S-hook. Now, an S-hook is just a simple 4-inch wire that I bought. Actually, I got this, somebody gave it to me. And it's real good, it's steel, but back in Jackson's time, they had mostly just plain wrought iron. It was, you had 3 grades of wrought iron. You had muck bar, which was really dirty wrought iron, and that's what wagon tires were made out of. It was really poor grade of iron, but it was adequate for the purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had double refined iron. It was a little bit higher grade of iron, and then you had triple refined iron. And the triple refined iron is what they made their gun and gun barrels out of.
Show me how this works here.
Okay, this is what is known as a American bellows. Yeah, y'all can stop pumping. It's an American bellows, and I think the reason that I think the British had some of these too, but the Americans used the American bellows because it's got 2 chambers. It's got a lower bag, has a valve in the lower board, and then the middle board has another valve interior, and see, you're pumping from the lower bag only. So I'm pumping air. It's in the lower bag now. When you pump it, it pumps up the top bag, and as the top bag inflates, it blows into the forge. And the reason for that, watch what happens when I let go of the lever. See, it's still blowing, and it never stops flowing. And what you have is a bellows that keeps a constant flow as long as you keep the top bag full of air. Wow. That's the way it works. And you see the iron bar I have on the top of the bellows, yes, on the very top board. That's the force that makes the top bag blow. It's the weight, and the more weight you put on there, the harder it blows. The only thing you have to do is keep the top bag inflated. This is just a simple portable forge. You put it in. Now this, the coal I'm using is bituminous coal. On the frontier, they generally used charcoal, and charcoal would get a piece of iron as hot. It just took a lot more charcoal, but it was cheap. You know, the frontiersmen were trying to get rid of all of their trees, and of course they cut the trees down and just burned it, as you see bulldozers doing today. You know, just to clear our land.
Sure.
Well, they were doing that just so they could put crops in. Trees were an enemy to the frontiersmen.
Sure.
And so we had unlimited access to wood to make charcoal out of it, and that's why one of the reasons it was easy access.
Wow.
You have to prepare the charcoal. Here I'm making just a simple this. Look, I'm just pointing. And we're doing rough and ready work here for the soldiers. And just making a U there so he can put a pot on a hook. And put the hook over the fire to put his pot on if he wants to make some stew or something. Rabbit stew, whatever they ate back then. And that's this. That's a quick and ready S-hook.
Wow, that is incredible. It's amazing what all is involved in having a camp like Camp Blount, but I can see how this would be very important.
You know, one of the things that impresses me about those people back at the time of Andrew Jackson is that they could take the ironmonger's iron and turn it into a gun lock.
Wow.
Some of the better ones could. They could make S-hooks. They could make just about anything and repair anything on the frontier without any help from anybody. Some of the old blacksmiths could even smelt the iron if they had the specialized knowledge. There wasn't many of them that could do that, but there were a few around up in Pittsburgh and places like that. They could do that in a forge.
That's amazing. What's your name, sir?
Bob Heath.
And where are you from?
I'm from Jackson, Mississippi.
Thank you for coming to Camp Blount.
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation.
Right, now let's get Bailey to do it.
Okay, we heard some music here, and we always love music. What's your name?
My name is Kim Caudell, and this is my husband, Paul Caudell. Where did he go? Oh, he's right behind me.
Nothing wrong with he's going to be behind you on this little thing here. Play us a little tune.
Okay, what do you want to play?
Just something quick and easy.
Something quick and easy. That's the story of Channel 6.
I have all gut strings. I have all gut strings on this violin, which is what you would have had in 1813.
What kind of strings?
Gut strings.
Gut strings.
They're called cat gut, but they're actually made out of sheep intestines.
Wow, that's very interesting. So is this harder to tune than other strings?
What do you think?
That's what I thought. So anyway.
Because you have to do it all from up here. You don't have any fine tuners on the tailpiece, so all the tuning has to be done from the top. So.
Okay. I think you're going to sound great.
Well, we'll sound like 1813 musicians. I think people spend a lot of time playing out of tune. All right.
Close enough.
All right.
Play by sound too.
Ready?
Yep.
We'll edit the
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much. Great job.
Thank you.
Okay, got somebody here, Dr. Beasley, for sure. We talked about this week when we did the promo about getting the property. You might explain to us a little bit how this works.
Well, as an offshoot of this celebration, our goal all along was to preserve and acquire this property. And we had some big-time people working for us, and one of them is Fred Prouty, who's Director of Programs for the Tennessee Wars Commission. About 3 years ago, Fred probably started this thing, visiting the property the first time, and then he's ushered this thing through the various state agencies and commissions to get it done. And as you know, the announcement was made Monday morning that the state of Tennessee has purchased this property.
Fred, the last time we talked to you, you're playing drums, and so you played a huge part in this deal. Tell us how you made it happen.
A lot of partnerships, like Dr. Beasley here. It took a concerted effort of quite a few organizations to raise the money. And the money's there, and now what we're waiting for is the actual closing on the property, which will probably take several months. Originally, we also made an interpretive plan for the site, and so we'll use that, Dr. Beasley, and maybe some other information to build trails through here and really make it into a one-of-a-kind park for the state. There are only 9 War of 1812 sites in Tennessee, and this is probably the only one that we can really use as a living history place and have a really good trail system. So we're real excited about this.
This is very, very good. Dr. Beasley, as this tape that we're creating here is going to be played many years from now, as we're looking at it today, 2013, what's your envision for a few years down the road?
Well, I think probably people need to understand this is not a state park. This is not a state park, it's a state historical site. And it'll have trails through it and plates and so forth, what do you call them, the markers, kiosks. And it'll be maybe a walking trail. Everybody's into walking trails now, but it'll be, preserved forever. And this is the last little segment that's uncommercialized that's available, and he got it done.
We appreciate you doing that, and I don't know if we've done that on this tape, but we're behind Hardee's, Long John Silver's, and back in behind there, actually behind Fred's and Taco Bell. But we're across the river from Father's Memorial, which is a really nice connection.
It'd be a great connection. Existing city park with a pedestrian bridge, unfortunately on the wrong side, and hopefully we'll get one on this side, and to tie this much park land together. When I came here in '59, we didn't have a park anywhere. Now we've got more parks, and this addition here would just be icing on the cake.
And preserving history.
And as the funds are available over the years, as we go along, we hope to maybe combine this park with other sites along a greenway along the river. So there's just a lot of potential here.
Potential. It's great for your vision. It's great. We appreciate what you've done to make this all happen, and we've got a great day here. We're fixing to go over and do a recreation of Crossroads to Destiny.
Exactly, with David Wright, the artist, and that's going to be kind of special. And it's actually a warm-up for what's going to happen tomorrow. They're going to do it a little bit bigger tomorrow, but they're practicing right now. You're going to see the dress rehearsal.
Looking forward to it, and thank you again.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we caught up with
Todd Jordan.
Todd, tell us about yourself and what you're doing here at Camp Blount.
Well, I'm a volunteer that's come up from Huntsville to help out today at Camp Blount. I'm representing a U.S. Army regular infantry soldier and the equipment and uniform that he would have worn when he joined General Jackson's Army in 1813. I represent one of the members of the 39th Infantry Regiment, which eventually became the 7th U.S. Infantry, which is still active today. We joined up with General Jackson's Army in Knoxville, and all of the volunteers largely were from Tennessee. There was a lot of incentive for a young man to join the Army based on the fact that you got a wool uniform. Most of the time, the soldiers would have been wearing linen, the linen trousers that you see here, the linen hunting frock, and if they had a rifle like you see here, it would have been probably their fathers or their grandfathers.
Ooh, that's heavy.
It's very heavy.
Wow.
It's about 11 pounds. So.
Wow, I would have never dreamed it would have been that heavy.
11 pounds. And then the thing about the rifle is, although they were very accurate, everybody had a different size caliber. Whereas when you got in the Army, then you were issued what was called, in this case, is a replica of the 1795 musket. It's smooth bore. It's just like the European weapon, like the Brown Bess, or the French had the Charleville. It's modeled after the French Charleville from the Revolutionary War. Both of them have a flint ignition system type, but the musket is standardized. So everybody in the Army, we can use the same ammunition. If something happens to one of these weapons, we can share parts. And this is the kind of weapon that you would have seen down at Horseshoe Bend, along with Jackson's volunteers and his militia that would have had their own. They're required to have a firearm, either a rifle or a Fowler piece, which was a smooth bore, like a shotgun that we would use for hunting birds, either duck or geese, that sort of thing. But like I say, the incentive for joining would have been the prestige of being in the Army. You would have gotten a new suit of clothes, the weapon, the new hat. This is it's called a shako. It was modeled after Napoleon's army in Europe, and it has that tall look that the armies had at that time. Much different from what we were used to during the Revolution, which had the tricorn hat, what was called the cock hat then, and what we call a tricorn. So it really made the soldier look taller, and it made him really proud. They had the silver plate for infantry, a gold one for the guys that were firing the cannons. This hat was more just one that the soldiers would have made themselves in the barracks, and then been able to wear it in fatigue duty around the camp. They wouldn't have been wearing it in their uniform time. But they also had, you'll see the trousers in the warmer weather would have been white, the white trousers, and then the gray were more in the winter time. So it just depended on what the uniform was calling for the season of the year. It's mostly how they decided.
Your glasses look like they're from the time too.
They are. These are not reproductions. I actually got these and had my prescription put in them. Wow. And these are silver. These are coin silver glasses, and they don't even look hardly worn. I mean, it's amazing how they've lasted. Yeah.
Maybe they should make them like that again today.
I know. That's what I'm thinking every time I got to go get some more. Yeah, you're right.
Well, thank you very much. And you're from Huntsville?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate what you've done. You really got a lot of history knowledge.
It's been great. It's been fun. It really is. It's a good opportunity to interface with the public, and for a good cause with Camp Blount, really becoming a part of Fayetteville history and the larger Lincoln County history. I think it's absolutely important.
It is important. You say this is 11 pounds?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Wow, I could work out with this. I need to work out with it. Anyway.
One for each hand. They're about the same.
That's right. Well, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you later.
You bet. Take care now. Thanks so much.
Okay, we have a very historical item here. Tell us your name and what we got in front of us.
My name is Gary Foreman. I'm a film producer. I've worked with the History Channel, and this Crockett rifle has played a big role in the story of Crockett's development as a hunter hero. And it was because of us pursuing the story of David Crockett, we met the owner of the gun, which is here, Joe Swan, and over the years we've become not only great scholars on Crockett, but we also become very close friends.
Wow. Tell us about how you came up on this gun.
Well, in 1806, Crockett was wanting to get married. He wrote about this in his autobiography. And he had worked for 4 months or 6 months for a horse so he could farm, and he wanted to get married early. So he went to my ancestor and sold the rifle to get the other $20 he needed so he could get the horse early to get married. And he moved into the neighborhood where my ancestor lived. And so the rifle stayed in that family until one of my great uncles went to Oklahoma at the turn of the century, on to California. In 1978, his grandson had it. I bought it from him, brought it back here, and so now we have it back in East Tennessee again.
What a great story. Let's talk about the gun. Tell us a little bit of what you know of the history of this gun.
Well, the flintlock is an interesting mechanism. In fact, a lot of our English language comes from the flintlock rifle. What you see here let me point as you get closer here. This is the flintlock mechanism, and this is where you hear lock, stock, and barrel, meaning the whole thing. So you have the flintlock, the wood stock, and the iron barrel. The other thing about the lock is that you have a mechanism in a half cock, and that's where you get the saying, "Don't go off half cocked." Inside this mechanism, you also have a firing pan for the powder, which is kind of your fuse in here. And there's a hole that's connecting between the pan and the barrel. And if that if that hole is plugged up, you only get one explosion instead of two. Therefore, you become a flash in a pan.
Let's talk about two explosions. Eric says I'm not living right because every time that happens, it jumps. Will you explain that two explosions again one more time?
Yeah. There's two explosions when you fire this gun. One where the flint strikes the steel and creating a shower of sparks. This all happens instantaneously. With dry weather conditions, that fire in the pan that explodes here will be your fuse that goes through the vent hole in the barrel, ignites the powder behind it of the ball, and shoves it all and launches it out the barrel about 500 miles an hour.
Wow.
So this all happens within a tenth of a second if the conditions like today are perfect, and they are, and that's why you heard that explosion. That worked because the powder conditions are right for not only the cannon but also for a rifle.
That is cool. How do you prove the authenticity of this being Davy Crockett gun?
Well, it's been in literature, articles, and newspapers during the 1800s that describe the gun, what it looks like. It's described in an estate in 1893 from my great uncle that had it. It's got a paper trail like none other I know of that connects it to Crockett. Crockett talks about it himself in his autobiography, and it's the first gun he talks about having.
Wow. What is the approximate worth of a gun like this?
Well, I don't know what Joe's going to tell you, but we actually
That's why I asked you.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what's interesting about that question is that 2 years ago we had Joe was generous enough to include this in an exhibit we had at the Alamo. And it drew thousands upon thousands of people to see it. I think you could say, for the most part, when you look at an artifact like this, it's basically not only timeless, but it's also invaluable because it is a valuable piece of our history right here.
And I'm sure you're very proud that you've been able to keep it in your family.
Yes, we are. We're happy to have it, yeah.
All right, as we wrap up here, tell me what your position is, what you do with the History Channel.
Well, our company worked with the History Channel. We helped start the first programming for the History Channel back in 1994. And it's through those endeavors, and actually I got to know Joe just before we did our History Channel show on Davy Crockett. And so people like Joe and other historians have been played a big role in helping us tell it to the nation. So we're indebted to Joe, and the fact this is a very generous man. There's not many people like him that would come out to any kind of sort of size public to present a great artifact like this. Sure. And we appreciate the fact that you're also acknowledging it.
We appreciate you, what you do. We appreciate you. Thank you for us being able to be this close to part of history. It's just amazing.
Yeah, well, thanks. It's fun to bring it.
Thank you, and I appreciate y'all.
What we're going to do here, tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, we're going to recreate live the tableau of Crossroads to Destiny that David Wright painted years ago about Andrew Jackson and Coffee and Crockett and local Dr. McKinney meeting here to form a militia to go south into Alabama to avenge the Red Sticks massacre at Fort Mims and ultimately fight and win the battle at Horseshoe Bend. So we're going to recreate this. We have characters playing these particular parts. With the red sling is Andrew Jackson. To his immediate right, or to your left, is Sam Houston, a native Tennessean. And we're going to have Mr. Crockett, David Crockett, who will be a scout in this militia army, bringing the horse in for Mr. Jackson to be on. The horse on your far left over here is the horse that Dr. McKinney, the local physician who volunteers his services, will be, he won't be riding it, he'll be standing alongside of it. So if you're familiar with the painting, you'll know what we're trying to do. So, here's the way it goes tomorrow, gentlemen. General Jackson calls for a meeting. He wants to meet with all of his principal players. He wants to meet with Sam Houston. He wants to meet with David Crockett. And he wants to meet with Coffee. Everybody who he wants to have him assisting him for his campaign into South Alabama is going to come and meet. And if you're all familiar with the painting, they meet up there in front of Walmart. Now, I don't know if they went in to buy anything afterwards, but the oak trees we can't replicate, unfortunately. So, at this point, Mr. Jackson has already called for all of his principal players, and they're coming. They will be taken up to him and introduced to him one at a time. Now, we're going to leave
Coffee there. Mr. Houston, could you come out here about 20 feet or so for me? And Mr. McKinney, would you come bring your horse and come back out here so we can stage this whole thing? All right, General Jackson and Coffee are just conversing. He's already called for all of his people. Aides, militia aides, we'll bring him up. We'll bring Mr. Houston up first. And without the benefit of the aides, go ahead, Mr. Houston, just walk right in, go up, introduce yourself to Mr. Jackson, carry on a conversation. Mr. McKinney, will you take your horse and go up there to the left? Just park him about 15 feet away from Houston and Jackson. Face him kind of towards the militia back there against the trees, if you will. That's good. Now you just turn, and to replicate the painting, you're not going to mount him. You're just going to do something with the gear, fiddle with the girth, the stirrups, whatever. But that's your whole performance right there. Okay. Now, in the scenario tomorrow, we will have already had a competition in the field to elect a militia officer, and that will be Jeff Brewer, and he's not here for the rehearsal. And what will happen tomorrow is he's going to be riding in my wagon. I'm going to drive the wagon through the woods and leave it parked. And then Mr. Brewer will be in the midst of this conversation. Now we have townspeople coming and going, coming in, offering their help. I don't know that we got any townspeople, but we certainly have Mr. Apple, who will be our Cherokee representative. Mr. Apple, would you walk up there and present yourself to those officers and offer what support that you want to offer them? Now, Mr. Crockett, take the general's horse in. If you'll be good enough to stay with it. Right there is fine, right there is fine. Let Mr. Coffee just hang on to him right there. That'll be fine. Now you two step away from the front of the horse just a little. That's about where you're going to be positioned tomorrow. We'll put... Okay, you guys are just carrying on a conversation up there now. Now what we need to do, we need to have some somebody's got to assist the general onto his horse. Let's see how we can affect that right now. From you're going to offer a hand, cup your fingers together, and make a footstool for him. Let him get up there. Grab the mane of the horse. Don't grab that left arm now. Don't grab that left arm. There we go. There we go. All right. Now, everybody else has left the scene. By the way, if you don't all know, the man who's directing the stage setting right now is David Wright, the artist who painted Crossroads to Destiny, the one that hangs in your courthouse and is now on display in the library and will be for the rest of the weekend, I think. So, and there are copies of it available that he will sign. Time to go.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to Mr. David Wright. David, an incredible painting. If you're from Fayetteville, Lincoln County, and hadn't seen Crossroads to Destiny, you hadn't been anywhere. It's just amazing. It's how many places it is, and the recreation is very, very neat. Got a lot of people here to see it. It's got to make you proud.
Oh yeah, by all means. The painting was done 15 years ago, 1998. And it records an event that took place right here on this ground in 1813, was when Jackson mustered the militia troops to kick off the Creek Indian War campaign. And we had the key players were here, as was included in the painting.
15 years ago, how did your mind create this? Through reading history, or was there some kind of recount of this?
Well, there's several recountings of the militia muster here in October of 1813. But you got to realize that in 1998 there were two massive oak trees, red oak trees up there on the hill that were still here, that were old enough to have been here during the militia muster. They were the eyewitnesses still standing at the time to this militia muster. And they're included in the painting. Unfortunately, they're gone now, so we don't have that anymore. So for this remains of the militia grounds to have been purchased by the state for this county here is a great achievement. There's been a lot of hard work for many, many years have gone into buying this ground and making a Tennessee State Park out of it, and that's been accomplished indeed. So the recreation of this particular event here at that time, it's a real honor for me to have been a part of this whole project.
It's got to make you proud to see all the things see the many places in our community and all over the place that painting has done, and it's something I know you're very, very proud of, and we as Lincoln Countyans are very proud of that.
Absolutely. A lot of hard work has gone into this whole long-term event. It started long before 1998 when Jerry Mansfield, then a county executive for Lincoln County, approached me and asked me to do the painting. And the end result of that painting was a fundraiser for scholarships for history students under Miss Faye Bradford, who was a history teacher back then. You know, a lot of people involved in this. It goes way, way back. It casts a really broad net. A lot of involvement. The people of Lincoln County and other places too all chipped in to make this a possibility that finally happened. We're tickled to death, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
The recreating of this, the reenactment of this, what do you call it?
Well, I refer to it as a tableau, and that's a still life recreation of a historical event.
It's very, very cool. I know you're proud. It's a great thing. And tell us about where you're from and what got you to doing this.
Well, I'm from Tennessee. I'm an old Tennessee. I live in Gallatin right now, and I've been a historical painter since 1960s. Went to art school, got out of art school, and became an artist at that point. So I've been painting history subjects for almost 50 years.
Can you make a living doing it?
Oh, yeah. I've been really blessed, been real fortunate, made a good living at it, and do something I really enjoy, too. And getting to be part of projects like this, I've done other fundraising projects that's historically based, too. Even makes it more fun, especially when it's a successful one.
We've got a lot of people back here in the background making all this happen. I'm going to ask you one more question. Who all was in that painting, and maybe you might tell me that?
Okay, the two friends of mine that modeled for me quite a bit up in Gallatin, Michael and Anthony Copeland, father and son. Anthony was General Jackson and Sam Houston, and Michael was as David Crockett, which he's done for me before. Dr. McKinney was our local district attorney in Gallatin, you know, and I'd come down here with Jerry and gone on all the site, went out there and met Dr. Young and the family of descendants of Dr. McKinney. Great story. I mean, it's just an unbelievable story, the whole thing was. And it just, like I say one more time, it's just been a real pleasure to have been a part of that.
It's a lot of people behind us, a lot of things making this take place. I know you're proud of what's happening here with Camp Blount, and I know you're proud of Crossroads of Destiny as we are, and thank you for everything that you've done.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Beasley, you got to be proud of the War of 1812, Camp Blount Bicentennial. This has been a great day.
Absolutely. You know, this is a two-day event. This was Student Day, and this may be the more important day because this was when we wanted to leave the legacy of what happened here to the young people, give them the story. And it's kind of symbolic that we're standing as we end this thing today underneath the official U.S. flag that was flown in 1812 and made especially for us by a flag company in Houston, Texas, of all things. Wow. So this is the flag that they flew at that time. It's 15 stars in a circle, so that's kind of neat.
That is very, very neat. And one thing that you've always said every time we've talked about is you had a lot of help. All the help, or a lot of the help, is right here.
A lot of our committees here, and these guys have really gone to the mat for this program. They've really sacrificed and done everything to bring this thing about, and we are really proud of them and appreciate their support so much.
We're going to introduce each one of them, Eric, as we step over here. We're going to come all the way down through here. Lots of blue shirts. I got the wrong color blue on today.
At least it's blue.
At least it's blue. Tell us your name and what you did on the committee.
I'm Gloria Meadows, and I've done just about a little bit of everything, but I helped with getting Christmas ornaments and that we have for sale. That's for $5, and that we will have, and they are for sale at Randy Delap's office. And then we are having a reception tonight at the library, and I am with there's a traveling exhibit of the War of 1812, and so it will be there till October. So we're glad to have it, and so we have we have David Wright that is here that will be signing the prints. If people buy prints, and he will sign them for them.
So that's great. Eric and I got to see the exhibit there, and that's really great.
It is really nice. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We want people to come in just any time that the library hours are open. Then come in and just take your time and look through the library, that exhibit.
Very good. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll move on to the next one, and you tell us your name and what you did with the committee.
Waylon Young. I'm on the procurement and the monument committee with Mr. Jack here.
Very good. We appreciate what you've done. It's been a great day.
Thank you.
Jack, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, and my role has been the treasurer, and we appreciate all the money that's been donated for this project. And besides down here, it's been my project to get the river opened up where people could see it.
We got to see it, and it's beautiful.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So we appreciate what you've done, and looking forward to the future of what this project's going to be.
Yes, we're real excited about it.
Thank you very much. All right, next, right on down.
Chris Murdoch, and I'm just a teacher at Fayetteville City High School and trying to bring insight to the students on this committee, and I think today was a well-worked day. So.
History at the school. You had the school, many of the schools here, and I know that's important as a history teacher.
That is correct. And this morning, actually, at Fayetteville High School, we planted 3 seedlings from the 2 oak trees at on our green. So hopefully, in 50, 70 years, those things will be sprouted up and as big as once maybe these 2 were. So.
A way to capture history and remember history on down the line. That's a great thing for the school system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Benny Bedingfield.
Yes, my main role was just a liaison between the schools and with the committee and getting the kids here and getting them back and trying to make sure everybody got on the bus and stuff. So
well, that's important.
Scheduling that.
That was a pretty big deal. There is all the we're right here in front of, as I mentioned before, in front of Fred's and behind Taco Bell, and a lot of school buses in here had to be coordinated pretty well.
Well, had a lot of help from the school systems and all, so it's went well. It's went better than I thought it would. So hopefully we'll get everybody back. One more step and we'll be there.
That's right. Well, working together is very important with all the 3 school systems. But not only that, you brought some in from Hazel Green and different other places.
We had Hazel Green. We had some from Marshall County. Had home schools, RCA, Lincoln County, Fayetteville City, who I'm with. So we had quite a few school children here.
Very good. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe Smith, we talked to you earlier. You've got to be proud of today.
I sure am, and I'm the recording secretary of this group. I've been doing the little communication for them, and we're really proud of all of our students today. They have all been so well behaved and asked pertinent questions, and they're a real sharp group. And Lincoln County ought to be proud of all of them.
They are. I tell you, that's a great thing for sure, for sure. All right, Dr. Beasley, I'm going to come back to you, but you got to be proud of this committee. Every one of them's got something going on, and you've had a lot of help.
They've all contributed. I couldn't have done it without them. It's a team effort, and they were very much a part of the team. They were pulling their share.
They sure were. Randy Delap, what's going on? What you been doing? You've always been you love history.
I do, and I've served as vice chairman of this committee, and I've just tried to keep up with Dr. Beasley, and that's been a really tough job because he has been on the move and he has done so much, and we've just all tried to help out best we could.
When you talk about agriculture history, you can't bring it up without thinking about Dr. Beasley, and now he's involved in this as well. So, it's a great thing.
It is, and we're just so glad to have all these students come out today and look for a good day tomorrow with the public coming out. So, really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. Joe Smith?
Yes, sir.
What's your been role?
The finance committee, and today I've been on traffic control, and
But it's been a great learning experience for me. I've learned more about Camp Blount than I've ever learned in school. But it's been an enjoyable day, and we've had a tremendous crowd here, and it's been a great experience for all of us.
It sure has. Thank you very much. Thank you. Jim Hanna, I've been seeing you around here today and hadn't got a chance to talk to you, so we're talking to you here at the close. I know this is an important thing for you.
Yes, indeed. As you know, I love history in all time periods, and we've worked hard on this, and a lot of the guys have just put in so many hours, and ladies have put in so many hours beyond what we thought we might, in working hard and getting all this stuff put together.
You're involved in reenactments and those kinds of things in other places as well, and been doing that for many years.
Yes, I'm a Civil War reenactor, and sometimes out west an Indian War reenactor. So I've done quite a few of these, and you kind of, when you're there goes the cannon. When you're kind of participating, you don't really appreciate how much work goes into these things, and then you see how much you have to get together. And Dr. Beasley has been great on leading this whole thing.
You have been involved in some movie reenactments as well.
Yeah, I've been in, 9 movies, I think, and lucky enough. And one of them had to do with the Trail of Tears here. So I know some of the history behind that as well as what actually happened here in Lincoln County, all that.
I know you love horses too, and we've had some great horses here too.
Yeah, we have. We got some good horses here. The guys that brought the horses, they're familiar with the different tack. Because I don't have any tack that matches this time period, and they've brought the horses that are used to this time period, and different tack and different clothes and different accoutrements and everything.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything you do.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ham, we talked to you earlier, but as we're wrapping up here, it's good for the students to be out, and we talked earlier.
Yes, indeed. I'm thrilled that they could come, and it was a great privilege to work with this amazing committee. And I'll compliment the horses, too. They were some of the most socialized horses I've ever been around. They were mighty tolerant of us today.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. As we back up here, we're going to get Mr. Dr. Beasley over here. We're going to thank him one more time. Dr. Beasley, thank you again for everything. We appreciate having the opportunity to capture this. We hope that people can see it for many more years to come, and I know you put a lot of hard work into it, and you've had a great community.
Well, we had a lot of support from the community, sponsors, the committee itself, talented people on this committee that had experience in doing lots of things. We pulled it all together, and we think hopefully we pulled it off fairly well.
Joe Smith had more to say.
We have a Facebook page, and want everybody to take a look at it. It's just called Camp Blount.
Camp Blount. Camp Blount on Facebook. We'll definitely do that. Again, thank you very much for everything you do, and thank you for your whole committee.
Thank you. Thanks for helping us, because you all really supported us from the very beginning. Britt sent all kinds of support down here, as you know, in a physical manner that completely changed the face of this little piece of ground, and we couldn't have done it without you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. From Camp Blount, the Bicentennial here in Fayetteville, Tennessee, I'm Don Counts, and we'll see you back in here next time, as I'm sure we'll be back here at Camp Blount in the years to come.